Hello MS community, I'm back with the MS cookbook. I am actually going to prepare a recipe that is not in the MS cookbook because the MS cookbook is exclusively devoted to foods. But I'm actually going to prepare a tincture today. I like to make tinctures. They are very healthy and they can often support you when your immune system is low. A tincture is an herb that has been put into a alcohol base. There are bases that you can use with alcohol, but the alcohol is able to dispel itself over time. So even on the MS diet, we can use tinctures. Obviously, we would not consume alcohol or anything with alcohol on the MS diet, but we can use small amounts of tinctures because the alcohol essentially absorbs the herb and dissipates. And we're going to make a tincture today made of fresh thyme. And the reason for that is I happen to have a lot of thyme in my garden, all this thyme. So I'm going to use it. This is Thyme thyme. Thyme is an herb that you can cook with very liberally along with oregano and rosemary. These are the wonderful Mediterranean Italian herbs that make food taste so delicious and smell so good. This fresh thyme is just exquisite. It's got its own beautiful perfume, and I have it on a paper plate. I just want to mention that. You don't want to put it on anything plastic. Glass would be preferable, actually. Thyme is really good as a tincture when you have a cold or a sore throat coming on. It's really good for bronchitis. It's good for whooping cough, for sore throat. It's an antiseptic and an antiviral. I wouldn't use it, as a medicine, but it is a support for the body. And you can take some thyme tincture, which we're going to make today, in a drop full of water. If I had a glass this size, I would take a little bit of water and I would put a dropper full, pinch the top of the dropper full, get some tincture. This is a nettle tincture that I made from nettles in my garden, and just drop that tincture into a cup of water. And this is a nettle tincture, which is very good for all around support for the immune system. Enjoy it. It's really delicious. So we're going to make a thyme tincture. Super simple. I made this nettle tincture about, I can tell you exactly. I made it about a month and a half ago, because when you make a tincture, you put the date on along with the name of the herb that you use. So this one has the date. So I'm going to make a thyme tincture. I'm going to take fresh thyme, which I now have in this ceramic bowl. I'm going to use a small quart, I think it's a half a quart, maybe a pint. It says 300 milliliters. Small jar, I should know. And I'm going to cut the thyme into small pieces, right into the bottle. I've got the stems on the thyme. I got it right from my garden. It's super fresh. I picked it yesterday. And I've got a good amount of it right now because it's been raining over here. So I've got a good amount of thyme. I am literally just cutting it up into smaller pieces because you want the alcohol to absorb all of the essential ingredients, the complex ingredients in herbs. And so you just keep on cutting this thing small as you can, but no particular size. And I cut it off of the plant pretty small, so I don't have to cut it too much. But when I get to some of the larger pieces that I picked a little bit later, you'll see I'm going to have to cut it a little bit more. So here's some of the larger pieces. I'm going to move these into the bowl, and I'm going to cut them right into the jar. Now, if I had a lot of thyme, a lot, I could actually fill this whole jar up with thyme. But I don't have that much because I do want to use some to cook with because it's so delicious. So I'm just going to fill it up about a quarter of the way, maybe a little bit more, just because it is good to have a lot of the herb when you're making a tincture. But I think that's enough. So I've got about a third of the mason jar filled. And now I'm going to take, my preference is vodka. You can also use a bourbon. But I'm going to use a 80 proof vodka. If you can get a higher proof, up to 100 proof, that's even better. But I'm going to use an 80 proof vodka for my tincture. This is one of the inexpensive vodkas. And I'm just going to pour the vodka the alcohol over the herb. I'm going to cover the herb almost up to the top of where the jar kind of becomes a little bit narrower. And then I'm going to close the jar. And very importantly, I'm going to get out a label. You can use a piece of tape if you don't have regular labels, but I make tinctures so often I have labels. I'm going to write time, and I'm going to write today's date. And I'm going to put that label onto the top of the jar so that I know when I made it. I'm going to shake it up. And the important thing now is that I'm going to store it in a dark place for 4 to 6 weeks. By the time I get it back, most of the alcohol will have dissipated. It will be a smaller concentration of the liquid, and I'm going to take empty reusable tincture bottles, which have the dropper on the top and they're dark amber color, and I'm going to literally strain the herb out of the bottle. In this case, I could use a small strainer. Just put it onto something larger. For example, I might take a glass cup, just strain the herb right into the glass cup, and then the tincture is what I'm going to have left in the glass cup. And then I would open up the bottle, and I would carefully, probably using a funnel, I would pour the tincture without any herb in it into the glass bottle, and I would also store that in a cabinet where it was dark. I'm going to wait, as I said, about 4 to 6 weeks. You can make tinctures from any herb. I make them from fresh echinacea, which I grow in my garden, fresh nettles, which I grow in my garden, fresh thyme, fresh rosemary. I made elderberry tincture this year as well. I didn't grow the elderberries, but I bought them in a herb store. You can also make a beautiful tincture with elderflowers. All of these particular tinctures that I'm mentioning are very good for the bronchial system, for the upper respiratory system. So they're very good winter herbs. They're very good herbs to take when you have a flu, to just boost your immune system. And then, of course, cooking with fresh thyme is really great. Thyme is wonderful with fish. Thyme is wonderful with chicken. Thyme is wonderful with broccoli and mushrooms. It's a great herb. You can use as much or as little of it. It has a strong taste, but not that strong. And I'm happy to be making tinctures with you. I'll probably make some more tinctures with you. And I also want another day to make my famous garlic honey, which I'll be making in our next MS Cookbook YouTube Cooking with Raquel video. So thank you so much for spending time with me. Tinctures are a great immune support system addition to our lives. Stay healthy, stay well.